I'm going to take you from converting from serger to cover stitch. So the first thing we're going to do is take and remove all the thread from the serger. Trust me, it's easier than trying to manipulate threads around. Also, I'm going to put on the correct threads that I'm using. So we're taking off the spools that we're not using and putting them back into the color coding. So I'm going to use kind of that yellow or for orange. And then I'm going to use green for we're going to do a wide 2-thread cover stitch, and then we're going to do purple over here. So that's kind of the setup as we're doing it. And you're going to notice when we thread the green one and our yellow one are our needles. So right here where it comes over, here we go, green, it's going to come over. That's why this little silver guy right here is, and then we'll come over. But the needles also need to be repositioned. So before we actually do any of the threading or needle movement, I'm going to show you how we're going to switch to the cover stitch stitch plate. So you're going to notice that we are going to find that when we open this up, down here, there's a place where it says C and S. Now, when you push that over, nothing's going to happen because what you need to do is lower the needles all the way down so this lines up so you can flip that over. And what that does is disengages the upper looper from moving any further. While you're down here, you also need to disengage the knife. So this part here, you just pull it out and twist it down and go until it clicks. It will kind of hide down here. Now don't forget to put that back up into position when you get to back to serging. And so it just sits out of the way, perfect like this, and then you'll be able to close that all the way up. Next on this part, you're going to just go ahead and kind of lift up on this little part right inside here that releases it. These two little prongs, when they go back in, they kind of line up everything and click into place. So just lift up right here up the front and pull that up. And then we're going to reposition this, same thing, there's those two little prongs, position that into place. And then watch what's going to be. Now, for this to actually close, you're going to notice that the stitch finger doesn't fit unless it's pulled to the R position. Now it fits, and now we have that table exactly where we need it to be. So then we're going to follow the color coding for the purple and the front looper. You'll notice that there is actually, where your lower looper is, there's one in front of it. It kind of points kind of downward. That's the looper we're using. Notice how far forward it is, and that's because our needles need to actually be in the forward positions. So we're going to just slide these out. And notice where the 3 long ovals are. I always set the needle down in there, and this is where having that little needle threader, we can drop that in, will help. I can go down and then straight up. You can actually notice at the top of the needles, there's a place where you can see the needle kind of come up into position when you loosen that screw. Those screws usually are tight, so you're going to have to loosen them first to go ahead and get them to actually go high enough up into their little home there. So now I'm taking out the B needle, that's our right needle, tightening those screws. Never leave those screws loose. Tighten that A1 back up. There we go. Otherwise, your serger will vibrate them out, and then you have a lost screw. So now we're actually using position C and E for that wide cover stitch. I really like that position. And notice that once again, you will find that your needles are at different heights. And this is going to be very exaggerated. This one is way higher than the right one. And then if we were to do a 3-needle cover stitch, we'd put that center one in, and it would be about halfway between in height from the left to the right one as it is. So now we're just going to go ahead and thread the serger. So you can practically do this in any order. This one's not as crucial as when you're actually doing it for the serger itself. So we'll just go ahead and get this going. You'll find that you can just, again, make sure the presser foot is up. Those tension discs will then be open. And as you come down, we're catching purple. We've got our tweezers close by. And there is, just like the lower looper is, there is a place in the back of the upper looper, or the cover stitch looper, I should call it, that is and needs to be connected there. So there is a little place. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in So we'll be able to see that, and then we'll continue threading the rest of the serger. These are just going to be like your regular needles. It's just we're in different positions here. We're going to thread these 2 needles across and down. So you'll notice there's a kind of a little V right here. I'm going to lay the thread kind of right in that V, and while I'm holding it with my left hand, that's going to put a little pressure on it so it stays into position. So I'm kind of just holding this right there. Then I'm going to reach all the way down. See this little lever? That's the part that actually comes and pushes it all the way to the back side. Then just go ahead and take the thread and thread it through the cover stitch looper. And at this point, I always suggest just go ahead and leave about 2 to 3 inches tail, and I'm just going to clip it and let it dangle in there. That's all we have to do for the cover stitch looper. And we can go even ahead and close it up because threading the needles is almost just as easy. So I'm going to go ahead and finish threading the needles, and then I'll show you how we do the stitching. You want to go to stitch number 23 for cover stitch wide. This will show us that we need the cover stitch stitch plate. The knife is removed. The stitch finger, the 2-thread converter is not engaged. The rolled hem setting is set to R. Pressure is normal, and cover stitch little guy down here is swung to C. So we are all set to touch OK. And now we see the stitch on screen. I'm going to go ahead and fold my fabric. This would be the hem as I'd be sewing. And of course, cover stitching always goes from the top side. So when we lower down the presser foot, we are going to position the raw edge, and you kind of feel it down between the marks of where the needles are sitting. That's the little marks on the front of the presser foot. So these threads are just going to be off to the side. Just go ahead and take a stitch. It's already lengthened the stitch length out to be a little longer. I'm going to just trim these tails so they will kind of slip down underneath the foot. Now with a cover stitch, you want to sew to the edge of the fabric but not off the fabric. Now the easiest way to get this out is to lift up the presser foot. Watch this. This is the slickest thing. Take something sturdy. I use the tips of my scissors. Go underneath the presser foot. I'm going to swish the threads to you. So you have these 2 little loops, and then snip them. Watch what happens. When you go to pull this out the back, it actually will lock that last stitch into place so it doesn't come out. So it's kind of a remove from serger and lock all at once. And see how we guided it to cover up the raw edge? So that is the idea of a cover stitch. It covers it up completely. And then if this is a stretchy fabric, of course that will stretch. So we have our needles here we go, our green and orange needles or yellow needle coming down. So nice wide setting for this. And again, if you went ahead and put that center needle in, you would have 3 rows of straight stitches down the center of the front. And then your looper on the back goes back and forth, covering up that edge.